Hello and welcome to another edition podcast of The Right Has Left. I am your host, Roy Garten, and today we have got a lot of news to talk about. But first, let's get to some quick breaking news, and that is on the fact that, guess what? Yes, indeed. Garcia has been returned to the United States. But really for all the wrong reasons and not the reasons that you and I would like to hope for. Yes, he's been returned to the United States, but it's because the fact of the matter is that Pam Bondi is going to continue to press charges against Garcia for a grand jury that has returned an indictment on him in the state of Tennessee. And unfortunately, that is not good news and news that we would like to hear. But unfortunately, that's what the fact of the matter is. What is so surprising about this is that Donald Trump, of course, has always said, I can't bring this guy back. It's out of my hands. He's there to stay in El Salvador. But all of a sudden, because of all the rift that's going on between Musk and him, they want to get the topics changed and get everything off of focusing on him. Pam Bondi pulls a miracle and a rabbit out of the hat and now says that Garcia can be returned to the United States, which he's already here, and that he's going to stand trial in the state of Tennessee for what they allege that he has been involved with immigration trafficking, taking illegal immigrants through the underground and, moving them around. Now, whether that is true or not, of course, that is for a jury to decide. This is all coming about because they want him to make sure that he has his due process. Yes, got to have that due process, don't we? Sure. So in other news that's going on is this guy. Yes, Thomas Fugate, with no apparent national security expertise. This young man, 22 years old, is now a Department of Homeland Security official overseeing the government's main hub of terrorism prevention, including an $18 million grant program that was intended to help communities, so says the White House. So, the White House appointed Fugate, or I should say specifically Donald Trump, a former White House Trump campaign worker who interned at the Hard Right Heritage Foundation. And I'm doing a little bit of a deep dive into the Heritage Foundation a little bit later in this podcast, so stay tuned for that. But so he's gone from basically being a college graduate to working for the Homeland Security. And which is a program that was included to expand upon the Center for Prevention Programs and Partnerships, known as CP3, not CP3O, this is CP3. The office has led nationwide efforts to prevent hate-fueled attacks, school shootings, and other forms of targeted violence. Now, his experience for this position is zero. Now, I'm not saying that the program he's heading is bad. It's not. I mean, these are good programs. And again, like I've always said, when there's good things to talk about with the Trump administration, I'm going to put it out there. I'll be transparent. But the problem is like with a lot of the other White House appointees that has just been, zipped right through approval. This young man, 22 years old, let's get back to him. Look at that raised eyebrow there. He has zero experience doing this. And he's just a young man that worked for the Trump campaign, and zap, they put him right in there. Now, his LinkedIn page, which, by the way, has been deleted, his previous experience was listed as a short stint as a landscape business owner in 2020, and he had a role as a cross-functional team leader for the H-E-B grocery store in Austin, Texas. That was all pulled off his LinkedIn page before it was pulled off. So, and it's just crazy, that this young man would be doing things like this. So I really don't know where else to go with this except These are the type of people that are getting into the White House administration, all because they have done favors for Donald Trump. And to put a young man with no experience in government work to do this, other than in his little interning bit, is kind of surprising. So we will see where that's all got to go, won't we? And other news, Donald Trump is now putting on some bans across some countries. And that's also not very, very good. Countries across the world were in shock Thursday when Donald Trump, this past Thursday, announced a travel ban on nationals from a dozen countries and the cancellation of visa programs for 7 more. So for many years, these countries thought, hey, this is the United States, so we've got some good things going on here. But for many, the move seemed like a return to 2017, and one of the most controversial policies of Trump's first term. Trump on Wednesday decided national security and terrorism concerns as motivating factors behind the ban on nationals, largely from Africa, Asia, triggering reactions from representatives of those countries. Now, let's take a look at this particular travel ban. There's the graphic. Those are the countries that are involved with the travel ban. And says, take for instance Chad, a nation of Central Africa that is among the countries hit with a travel ban, quickly issued a reciprocal restriction on issuing visas to the United States citizens. Of course, all of these countries are going to come back to the United States and say, hey, if you're going to ban us, we are going to ban you. And Chad has no plans to offer, no billions of dollars to give to the Trump administration, but Chad had its dignity and pride, so says President Idris Deby, who wrote on Facebook on Thursday from Chad. In other words, we're not going to pay you, Donald Trump, to have favors. President Donald Trump has revealed why Egypt, now this is interesting, where a Boulder, Colorado attack suspect Mohammed Sabri Solomon was born, was not included in the travel ban. Egypt has been a country that we deal with on a very close basis, so said Donald Trump. He told reporters this at a recent White House press briefing. They have things under control in Egypt. Why it matters, because, if you remember, 15 people were injured this past Sunday during the attack at a protest in support of the Israeli hostages held by Hamas. Police said Solomon, who's 45 years of age, had come armed with 18 Molotov cocktails and threw 2 into the crowd while yelling, "Free Palestine." Solomon, who was on an expired visa from Egypt, is facing attempted murder and federal hate crime charges. So, this deal with Egypt, as I just previously stated, has got a lot of mixed reactions. The guy, of course, is an extremist. Now, again, Free Palestine, a lot of folks, are in favor of the Palestinian people. Not Hamas. I have to keep saying that. They're not in favor of Hamas. They are in favor of the poor Palestinian people who thousands and even literally millions do not support Hamas, are being victimized by Israel. In other words, this casualty thing of battle. It's extremely sad how innocent people have to have their lives taken, children, babies maimed, and everything else, all it's a war, and it's just casualties of war. But again, that's a different subject that we will talk about a little bit later. Let's move on. Let's talk about Stephen Miller. Yes, Stephen Miller. He came in the other day, created a lot of controversy when he went in an office and started yelling at everybody, "You guys aren't doing a good job with this deportation. You're horrible leaders." And he just ripped into everybody, and everybody was just shocked how Stephen Miller just came in there and started shooting off his mouth and telling everybody how the crappy job they're doing. He had nothing positive to say to anybody about the staff, and it shot morale way down, so said an official who spoke to those in the room during the meeting. Stephen Miller wants everybody arrested. Everybody. It's no longer, as we are all seeing, it is no longer about people who have criminal records. on this deportation thing about with Donald Trump, it's now everybody and every single person who does not look like they belong here is getting picked up. And we have seen this going on in masses. They're just, ICE is just taking down everybody. If they have brown skin or they don't look like they belong here, they're being picked up. No criminal records or not. And that was the original intention. Everybody was on board with that. We want to get the people who have criminal records out of the country. But when you start arresting innocent people and children and babies and people who have U.S. citizenship here and they're being deported for just no reason, that's pressures like this from Stephen Miller is what's causing this. Trump wants more, thousands and thousands of people picked up. So Stephen Miller goes on to say, so why aren't you at Home Depot? Why aren't you at 7-Eleven? Like, I guess that's where illegal immigrants hang out at, I guess, according to him. So said the official, recounting what happened at a ERO official meeting, and this was at the Home Department of Homeland Security. And the White House has argued publicly that they were going after illegal immigrants and that ICE was targeting them, not illegal immigrants in general. So says some people. But, again, this deal with Stephen Miller, he really likes to toot his horn, and when he gets mad, he gets really mad. Now, there has been a lot of people who are starting to compare Mr. Stephen Miller with somebody else. And the person on the left in that image is somebody from the 1930s, which I'm not going to go into, but you can see some similar likenesses there, can't you? Yeah. So it's just not me. I found that image. It's some public record, and a lot of people are starting to go, he sure looks like somebody that came from the late 1930s, early 40s, from a country in Germany, and geez, a lot of similarities there. So hopefully we won't go too far on that. Really, no. Let's move on. Here's some good news. Marcelo Gomez DaSilvia, the 18-year-old that was picked up by ICE, is now back home. He was released on bail. In other words, there are still charges pending against him. All because he was just picking up somebody from his volleyball teammates. This happened a couple weeks ago when 4 vehicles driven by ICE representatives surrounded his car. And agents jumped out and detained Gomez, and the ICE agents were actually looking for what was his father. And ICE agents said they had intelligence on Gomez DaSilvia's father from a local law enforcement agency, and that ICE agents stopped the car, but now he's home. And we got some great video of his recent press interview, so let's roll.
That place, it's not good. It's not good. Ever since I got here, they had me in handcuffs. They put me downstairs, and I was in a room with a bunch of 35-year-old men, and those rooms were small compared to the size of like how many men were there. There was like 40 men in there. We would barely get any attention from the people there. It'd be really hard. I haven't showered in 6 days. I haven't done anything. The only thing I could do is thank God every day, because that's all I would do. I would pray there. I would talk about the Bible to them. Sometimes our lunch and dinner would be crackers. They give us a really long sheet of this thin aluminum, I'm guessing, and we lay down on the concrete floor and put that over us and just sleep through the night.
Yeah, I hear you.
At the end of the day, this place it's not a good spot to be. Nobody should be in here. Like, most people down there are all workers. They all got caught going to work, and like these people have families, man. Like, they have kids to go home to, and there's like genuine criminals out there that people aren't giving attention to. They're getting good people that don't deserve to be here. I don't want anyone to touch my dad. I want my dad. My dad would call me at night with my brother and sister, and he wouldn't stop crying, and he would talk about how, like, he can't even go outside. Like, why? Like, there's no reason for this. You know what I mean? Like, my dad has never did anything wrong. My dad's everything to me. He's never everything I learned was from my dad, and like if he shouldn't deserve to get any hate.
Marcelo, you feeling happy to be out and ready to?
I feel like I'm optimistic, like very optimistic. I always look to God for things, so I feel like I always remember this place. I always remember how it was. I'll always be grateful for everything that I have outside of that place.
Now, DaSilvia was driving, as I mentioned, to his volleyball practice that morning because of he was looking for his dad, and of course, when ICE agents got there and they checked on this little 18-year-old, they said, "Well, you know, you're illegal too because you're all your thing you have and your documents have expired." So they went ahead and decided to give him, bust this poor guy. So. And it's really kind of sad. Now, what happened here, getting out on bail, of course, if you're looking at this video, there were recent protests earlier when he was picked up, and I mean hundreds and hundreds of students took up signs and stuff and was protesting this young man's being picked up, and I think that's what kind of got the ICE people and the government to finally release him on bail and let him come back home. Same thing with this little thing with Pam Bondi bringing back the gentleman from El Salvador. It's kind of funny how some things are starting to soften up a little bit just to tone down the rhetoric from everybody that's getting upset about this, which they have a just full right to do so. So it's kind of interesting. What's so sad, though, about this young man, he's just getting ready to play in the graduation ceremony band. He plays a musical instrument. The very next day, and he was picked up. And so when, the Boston Department of Justice was having a press conference, and the reporters were asking about, why did you arrest this person in the first place? And of course, they got real snotty and, all huffy and said, "Well, we'll put that back on you. What about an 18-year-old that was stopped for a traffic violation, here in Massachusetts by state police? Would you be asking the same question to the Massachusetts State Police for not arresting him?" So I didn't say he was a dangerous person. I never said that. I just said he's in this country illegally, and we're not going to walk away from anybody. Ooh, real tough people there. So it's just unbelievable, the stuff that they do. But I'm glad this young man's back with his friends and his family, and I hope and pray that he'll also get due process, and perhaps he won't be deported. We'll just have to pray for this young guy and see what happens. Let's move on to other news. Yep. Tech billionaire Elon Musk, he's back in the news. He's blasting President Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill of tax cuts and spending plans. And just after he started talking about that, boy, oh boy, did the poo-poo hit the fan. And now him and Donald Trump are basically having a big blowout. Yes, they are. This fight between Elon Musk and Donald Trump is just continues to fester, and Elon Musk has now said that Donald Trump was on that plane so many years ago with all those beautiful young ladies, and he said he's got the dirt on him, and of course people are going, ooh, and of course Trump is saying that Elon Musk, he's got mental problems, and in defense of Donald Trump, there has been some documentation that Elon Musk may be getting deeper and deeper into some controlled substances, and it's starting to affect him. And maybe this is why this blow-up's going on. People have documented that Elon Musk was even using drugs right there in the White House. So I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. But Musk is calling that this proposed bill, this massive, outrageous pork-filled congressional spending bill, is discussing abominations, so said Musk. And he posted this all on X, warning that the bill will increase the federal deficit. Shame on those who voted for it. And you know you did wrong. You know it. So on and on this little battle goes. And I don't know what is going to become of it. But, the fighting continues between Donald Trump and Musk, and the Democrats are having a lot of fun with it. They're seeing that Mr. Taco and Elon Musk are fighting back and forth, and they're just sitting back and enjoying it. Of course, it's not good for the country. Let's be real here. With Musk and Trump fighting, stocks are starting to fluctuate again and drop a little bit. And Musk tells the stock is going down. And because of these people are, because Trump is who he is, the president of the United States, and Elon Musk, who has billions of dollars, and he economically, he is controlling a lot of the world's processes. It is not good, and the two really kind of need to, I guess, make up, if you want to use that terminology. In other news, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has now ordered a review of ships' names, specifically those honoring civil rights leaders like Harvey Milk, a gay rights icon and a Navy veteran. Potential impact: the review could lead to the renaming of ships like the USNS Harvey Milk, potentially sparking controversy and debate about the balance between honoring civil rights leaders and the historical context and military names. Rationale: the decision to remove the Confederate names was based on the idea that these names represented a controversial and painful past, while the potential of renaming of ships honoring civil rights leaders raises questions about whether the current administration is honoring them fairly. Debate and criticism includes the potential renaming of the USSN Harvey Milk has already drawn criticism, with some arguing that it represents a vindictive erasure of civil rights leaders and a disregard for the sacrifices they have all made. And a little bit of discussion on this topic. Hegseth has said from the beginning, when he was nominated, that he was going to get DEI out of the military, and that includes the Navy. And anything to do with civil rights or the LGBTQ community support, that's going to go away. He wants a tough fighting machine in the military, and he wants war fighters, and therefore any of those other people, they have no place in our United States of America military. Even though, millions of minorities have contributed to our country's safety and have died for us, but that's beside the point. Let's not worry about that. And other news, and I'm going to jump down here to the local area here, and this is quite interesting. A Florida weatherman stopped his show midair to sound the alarm about a looming national disaster, and that's entirely man-made. And as the country prepares for the next hurricane season, which is already underway, by the way, here in the state of Florida, Miami newscaster John Morales issued an ominous warning about how the steep federal government cuts are impacting the meteorologist's ability to predict and track threats. Take a look at this.
Listen, I've been on this since 8 o'clock this morning on social media, and there is a lot of anxiety out there because you don't see it turning, right? When is it going to turn? John, it's not turning. It's coming straight to us. It's going to turn, all right? The turn was never forecast to be on Sunday. The turn isn't even on Monday morning. The turn will come Monday afternoon, Monday evening, into Tuesday. Remember that? That was about 6 years ago. That was Hurricane Dorian, as it was absolutely devastating the northwest Bahamas as a Category 5, sat over that region for 2 days. It was headed straight west. Lots of people in Florida were concerned the hurricane was heading here. And as you've grown accustomed to my presentations over my 34 years in South Florida newscasts, confidently, I went on TV and I told you it's going to turn. You don't need to worry. It is going to turn. And I am here to tell you that I am not sure I can do that this year because of the cuts, the gutting, the sledgehammer attack on science in general, and I could talk about that for a long, long time, and how that is affecting the U.S. Leadership in science over many years, and how we're losing that leadership, and this is a multi-generational impact on science in this country, all right? But specifically, let's talk about the federal government cuts to the National Weather Service and to NOAA. Did you know that Central and South Florida National Weather Service offices are currently basically 20 to 40% understaffed? From Tampa to Key West, including the Miami office, 20 to 40% understaffed. Now, this type of staffing shortage is having impacts across the nation because there's been a nearly 20% reduction in weather balloon launches that carry those radio sondes. And what we're starting to see is that the quality of the forecasts is becoming degraded.
That was a quite fascinating video there, because it's so true. With all the cuts from the National Weather Service and all the Weather Bureau stations, especially here in the state of Florida, have had huge staff reductions, and the ability to predict these hurricanes is going to be tougher and tougher. And on top of that, after a hurricane does come through the state of Florida, with FEMA basically by the Trump administration being dissolved, a lot of folks here may not get the federal help that they all thought they were going to get either. So it's quite interesting. Let's move on to our top story today. And that top story is going to be a discussion of a gentleman that many of you probably do not know about. And that gentleman is Peter Thiel on my top story podcast discussion. Now, this guy, if you don't know who he is another rich billionaire that is part of Donald Trump's little entourage. And he is the co-founder of PayPal, Planter. And Planter, as you know, has just been given a contract to start basically categorizing every single American here in the United States into a database. So Trump and his people can track each and single one of us and see what we're up to, and that we're all behaving like good little boys and girls. Planter Technologies is one of his companies, and he's also the Founders Fund. He is also an early investor in Facebook. He has been a mega donor for Republican candidates and the causes since 2000, though he tends to donate to Republicans. Thiel has also donated to some Democrats, giving California governor an example, Gavin Newsom's campaign, $56,400 in 2015, and Representative Ro Kahana, $2,700 in 2016. Thiel, I should say, not Thiel, donated approximately $1.5 million to pro-Trump groups during the 2016 election cycle. In addition, financial backing, Thiel has also provided Trump credibility as one of his most prominent Silicon Valley backers. Now, he's vouched for Trump at the 2016 Republican National Convention, so as you can see, he's starting to lean more towards Republican. And he's officially joined the Trump transition team as a member of Trump's executive committee in November 2016. His involvement and influence over the Trump transitions raised ethical concerns because Silicon Valley stood to gain from the Thiel-backed candidates in key tech-facing jobs who may spare tech grants from regulatory oversight. A key figure in the success of both the network states movement and Donald Trump has been the shadowy tech billionaire Peter Thiel. Promos Capital, that's another one that he owns. The venture capital firm that has been responsible for financing much of the movement's special projects, including Praxis, is financially supported by this guy. A number of his associates are also deeply intertwined with the movement, including Joe Lonsdale, the co-founder of his defense contractor, Planter, there's that name again, and Michael Gibson, the former vice president of grants at the Thiel Foundation, who currently serves as an advisor at Promos. At the same time, this guy has also been a notable benefactor of Trump's political career, having helped bankroll his 2016 presidential campaign, along with Elon Musk, of course. And even more weirdly, it would appear that Trump has named this guy, associate Ken Howry, as an ambassador to Denmark, which would put him in a prime position to influence Greenland. So are you starting to see how this is all coming together? Because Trump so desperately wants Greenland, either to have it become a state or a U.S. possession and get it away from other countries, which was Denmark. So there's your tie-in. He wants Greenland. And, of course, you do remember Trump wants to buy this Greenland and make it a state, along with Canada, as I just mentioned. There is also strong rumors that Trump wants to decentralize Washington, D.C. to make it a freedom city where corporations run it. And yes, Steele would get it for his billions he has given to Trump's campaigns. Now, if you think I'm making this crap up, you need to look up what Freedom City is, because a lot of these laid off federal workers have heard this rumor, and they have been talking about it. And they have said that Donald Trump wants to dissolve Washington, D.C. as District of Columbia and make it a freedom city where it would be, governed by corporations. And Peter would be running it. And he would also get billions of dollars for doing this. And because he's giving his campaigns. These are just rumors. Again, no solid facts, but many, many federal workers have heard this discussion. Would it be possible? I have no idea whether it could be or not. But freedom cities as a concept is a real thing. You can look it up and make your own decisions. But many of these federal workers who've been canned said that this is why a lot of these people are getting canned. Because of the idea of trying to turn Washington, D.C. into a freedom city and let it be governed by corporations. And like I said, a lot of this information is on Political Wired, and you can make up your own minds. So whatever you want to do. But that's an interesting discussion, and that is my top story for here on The Right Has Left. Moving on now, we've got some other great news from the Supreme Court, if you want to call it great news. They have made some great decisions against Trump on some of his deal, and they have made some controversial decisions. One of those is the case of Ames versus Ohio, the Department of Youth Services. The High Court tossed out a ruling by a federal appeal court that dismissed Marlene Ames. She claims because she failed to clear a higher bar applied to members of a majority group in order for her employment discrimination case to proceed. The justices did conclude that a background circumstances requirement cannot be squandered with the Title VII of the Civil Rights Act and sent Ames' case back to the lower courts for further proceedings. The background circumstances rule required plaintiffs who are members of a majority group to put forth more evidence showing that their employer is unusual because it discriminates against the majority. Ames had argued that the requirement unfairly imposed a higher burden on her as a heterosexual woman. The background on this is in her particular job that she was passed up on a promotion because her boss was gay, and he was giving all the jobs that were available and a higher level of salary to the LGBT community and passing up on her. That's her argument. And that is, again, allegedly what she said happened. And, of course, the Supreme Court said that, everybody's on the same playing field and that her case should go back to a lower court and for trial. I'm going to kind of, as much as I support the LGBT community, I can support the Supreme Court on this, that everybody is on the same playing field and everybody has to have the rights. So on this particular ruling, I tend to agree with the Supreme Court. Everybody needs to be on the same level playing field as long as everybody is. Whether you're heterosexual, LGBTQ, gay, lesbian, everybody needs to be on the same playing field. We shouldn't be favoring everybody. But everybody should have the same rights. And a lot of times the LGBT community does not have the same rights. In this particular case, maybe the guy did overstep and was favoring one group over another. So, again, kudos to the Supreme Court. I think this is a fair decision that was brought up. So I totally agree with them. All right. That is my show for today from The Right Has Left. I am Roy Garten, and I do want to thank you for joining me on this particular podcast. It's always fun to talk to you about things that are going on here. And again, this is all commentary. I do not always say that what I'm talking about is something that you may agree or not agree with. It's all pulled from the news cycle from this past week. So take it and digest it, and I look forward to your comments. Until next time, thank you for joining me on the Right Has Left podcast. I'm Roy Garten. You try to have a great week. Take care.